did our WhatsApp message help? Okay, great. I think we'll do the second breakout rooms like yesterday. I'll do like an introduction to the vouchers, just a quick intro, and then we can do the breakout rooms.
Sweet.
Cool.
Hey,
Hey, and Tyler, it's your face.
um, yeah, we're gonna keep flowing, but I guess do you want to try? Should we just hear like a voice from the room? Would that be helpful, Rob? Or
Oh, sure.
yeah, did anyone have something very particular they wanted to share really quickly before we kind of move into our next part, just around the community economy or what something you got from your breakout room? And if not, it's all good. You can always put it in the chat too. We'd love to just hear what's up with you. Hey, Paul.
In the breakout room, I wanted to honor the sorrow that comes from not being able to work on the land. And I want to honor the displacement that has happened on this planet. And even the seagulls are screeching this one. The displacement that's happened on the planet for many thousands of years, and the displacement that's happening in the USA right now, which is coming from a very deep source of resentment. And I'm glad we're here at this time. And I have two things which didn't happen in the breakout room. I pay particular attention to language, and I've discovered in these last 20 years, collaboration may not be enough, because if you look at the word, it's only to do with labor, co-laboring, but humans are far more than their labor. And secondly, community may not be enough. So we use the word cosmunity, a cosmic unity, because communities can end at the street in which you live. They certainly end in your mems and arts of association and in your bylaws. So I'm glad to be here and to contribute. We're doing similar things here in Ireland. We've been doing this for 5,000 years, and Trump will be gone in a little while and we'll still be here.
Thank you, Paul. I'm
Thank
not
you.
sure I'm not sure why I'm laughing. It's very deep and very real and it's really beautiful. Um, but also kind of funny. There's a little bit of edge to it too that makes it. um,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I really appreciate what you're speaking to. Also being conscious of of our terms and our words as we go along. And I think that's a big part of also what we're seeing wanting to happen with HSC and with ourselves, is that there is this retraining that we're also doing. It's like a retraining into this a new economy, into a collaborative paradigm. Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, Justin, would you like to introduce the next part, or?
yeah, we're gonna get some chance to meet Mike from Circle Trust, and maybe Rob, you can just do if you want to just introduce him. That's okay.
Oh,
And then we'll kind of go into a little bit of product demoing, actually getting into the HSC app and the platform itself, and some more kind of ideas and concepts of actually grounding this community economy into practice and into this kind of freelance community and network of exchange. So, yeah.
yeah, thanks. So, yeah, so Mike is here as a representative of several communities, but as a representative of Circle Trust and of Roots Cooperative, and really just wanted Mike to to bring another voice to just sort of speak to this this idea that HSC really is connected, with in a larger picture, as far as like this specific value exchange, but in this larger way of how are we connecting as communities and cosmunities. So yeah, Mike's just going to share a little bit. Just wanted to give you a little context about what Circle Trust is and how it connects with HSC. Mike?
Thank you, Rob. And besides you, Rob, I'm meeting all of you for the first time this morning. So I do hold some butterflies with me as I'm sharing all about the work we've been doing and what's happening here. Um, I'm an inhabitant of a place called Richmond, Virginia. Um, and this is a very unique place for working in the field of regeneration and then intersecting with HSC and Circle Trust. Um, so Richmond, Virginia lies on the James River at a geological feature known as the Fall Line. So the James River leads to Jamestown, which was the first colony, the first English colony of what would eventually emerge to become the United States. And so Richmond, Virginia is where it is because the boats would sail up the James River, and this is where they would have to dock and begin trade on land. And what were they originally trading? Well, the business model of the Virginia company was tobacco. Tobacco remains the leading cause of preventable death and disease in the United States and perhaps the world. Richmond remains the headquarters of the tobacco industry. We were original slave port, and Richmond is also very well known to eventually become the capital of the Confederacy during the Civil War. Then after the Civil War was lost, Richmond became the center of the Lost Cause movement, where Confederate statues came up to reclaim the Confederate narrative and dominance over people of color. And I share all of that because what is emerging in Richmond, there remains so much work to do and so much of the injustice that's recognizable in the US. But there is also remarkable healing and continuous project of reconstruction happening here in Richmond. And so we've started up a movement here called Pollinators for Change, which is a movement for sustainable change making, powered by love and community. And our first principle is that everyone has parts to play in the making of sustainable futures. And as systems thinkers coming into this work, what we've done is we've mapped the field of what we believe to encompass a pretty broad and comprehensive scope of what regenerative economies are. And this includes the capacities and professions of mind, body, and spiritual well-being, social cohesion, cooperative business, social enterprising, community gardens, urban agriculture, ecological conservation. And we have 40 of them listed. And what we do is we find these change makers, and Richmond is large and diverse enough to have at least like one incredible person in all of these sectors. So we find these people and we invite them in to a community where they can be part of a larger whole. And so we started this initiative back in August. We had our first gathering in October. Now we're digging into the foundational justice and economic development work that we foresee this initiative being capable of ahead of our state house elections this fall. And the state house elections here may also be among the most consequential in the trajectory of where this country goes politically. And so how Circle Trust comes into play in all of this is that for everything that we're doing in place to actually embody an economy where people can come together and circulate across all the forms of value, including financial value, we need foundational tools. And so the foundational tool that we're working on is called Circle Trust. And we see Circle Trust as being the utility, the core utilities that we need to really embody regenerative economies. And so I'm meeting all of you and you're meeting us in this design and visioning process. And we're on the verge of beginning, working prototypes of this and really starting this up and feeling into how we can really change systems, starting from the capacities of ourselves, each other as communities, and then working in communities such as the one we're experiencing right now, and in what we can create together in the form of tools and knowledge sharing, et cetera, to really bring regenerative economies into being, and hopefully through a scalable model where what can be demonstrated in one place can pollinate and inspire communities of other places to step into these next systems.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's really, I think that's a great, I think what Paul said and what Mike said is, I don't know, feels to me like a great segue into, what I want to share next as far as like the member portal demo and, is that like, starting with what Paul said, right, about this disconnection with the land. Yeah, I mean, I want to name, right, that Holistic Systems Cooperative is at this point is a virtual community. So when we're exchanging goods and services, we're not, for the most part, exchanging food, and really basic kind of survival needs. There's a way where, so I really, it's part of my goal of the next, year or so I really want to get on the land, and I want to get to a land-based project and be on the ground. And right, it's hard to do, so like, again, there's this way where if I'm running around as this isolated entity and I'm trying to make ends meet, and I'm feeling overwhelmed and I'm feeling like I don't have enough support, it's hard for me to make that transition. That's what I have found, and I think I've heard that from others. And so that's part of what HSC is wanting to do, is to help us get to this level of stability, so then we can, from there, we know how to move and be more of a contribution in the world. It's the same. I came from, is a little side, but I came from the health and wellness field. I was in that field for 15 years, right? And I was working and trained as a trauma therapist. And there's a way where somebody comes in, into the office with trauma. The first thing you need to do is to establish like this stability and safety. You can't just jump in and say, like, let's just go right at your trauma. Let's go right at your trauma. Doesn't work, right? And that can take a while to establish that. And there's something to me that's like a visual that I use here. So how can we collectively help each other get to a level of stability, and then we can move from there. And so, yeah, and so then the segue, from Mike is really, sort of saying, well, what are the tools, like Mike kind of segued it himself, right? Saying this is the community aspect, this is what we're trying to do, and then how do we facilitate it? And so, that's what we've been building here for the last 3.5 years. Is we're saying, okay, we need something to facilitate that, and we need a framework. And we're not the only ones doing this, and but we're looking at what's on the landscape now, we're saying, hey, we feel like it's worthwhile to keep trying this, and this particular framework out. So the idea of it is that it's a practical, it's a hands-on way for us to collectively help ourselves, and that the framework is really sort of designed to say we actually can like work on earning a thriving livelihood and work on like social transformation at the same time. It doesn't have to be an either or. So that's the general framework. And I'll just jump in. I'll show where we're at with this. This is our MVP version of the member portal. It's a lot better than the one we had 1.5 years ago. And yeah, so the idea really with this, this community economy is that, we bring in all the value that we have, and then we figure out where to flow that value in the way that it's going to then achieve the most benefit, for everybody individually and collectively. And so there's just different frameworks and ways to do that. It doesn't mean that these won't change, but I think it's a pretty neat system to start to try out. So I'll just go through. I'll kind of share the framework and the app at the same time. There's 4 basic kind of main pieces of the app right now. So the members, needs and offerings, contributions, and voucher exchange. There's other things within the app, like a resource library, and there'll be other features coming in. So I'm going to start with the members. So basically, yeah. So these look at these beautiful faces. This is the member directory. And the idea here, I think there's a couple points I want to name, is that first of all, we want to be able to find great matches. We want to be able to do that easily. So we want this directory to be built out, but we also want so there's ways to filter and search and sort, right? So if I'm looking for somebody, a collaborator who can do some kind of operational work, right? I can filter those people. can also search if I'm looking for somebody marketing, then it'll bring up people, and hopefully this will improve over time. Yeah, we can take a look at. So this is what the member profile looks like, and it's just has a snapshot of the main pieces of everybody's how they want to collaborate. Okay, what my professional skills are. You can see all of the skills. You can see I'm like a multidisciplinary kind of person, so that's why I have like too many. And then you can learn about the whole person, see their vouchers and their needs and offerings. So that's the second piece I want to name, right? This whole person. So we call this a whole person profile. And the reason we do that, like I said, is that we're really trying to bring in everything of, like our full expansive selves to bring that in and to help us cultivate that. So, I might now be a business alignment specialist, but I might also want to, be an accountant or something, so how can we, as a group in these formal and informal ways, support each other, right? And so then, and that kind of, right. So that's that idea. And also, with the member portal, this will be, these profiles will be able to be shared, and this member directory shared in a public way. So, it's a way to get referrals, to get, to do networking, to get exposure, on a shared platform. So, then we come to the exchange, and it starts with needs and offerings. So think of needs and offerings as a kind of informal exchange method, right? So there's a couple of main ways that we exchange goods and services. So needs and offerings, that's a lot of communities have this, which is great, and really you have your list of the offers, the list of the needs, and then you have yours. So basically, it's a way for us, again, with this, different with the filtering and sorting and searching different categories. So that way we can, find what we need easily. But so if I'm, if I'm in a conflict with somebody, right, I can then say, okay, I can look at this offer and say, okay, well, I think maybe Adrian can help me. And so I'm going to contact Adrian. I can, learn about Adrian, and then, we're going to, connect, and we're going to figure out what the exchange is, what the value exchange is. How can we help each other? I think the most transformational part, and I would have to say that the core of this whole thing to me is needs, right? I keep saying that. How do we meet each other's needs? And as professionals, I think that we spend a lot of time working on our offerings. We don't spend as much time working on our needs. It was really transformative for me to be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna, like, what are my needs, and to think about that, and to be like, okay, I have to put needs up. I mean, maybe it's just me, but for me, I was like, I can't think of anything. But then once I started thinking about it, I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot, and that's something that we're going to explore together. So that's this kind of like more informal exchange. It's more flexible, spontaneous. It can be for fiat money. It doesn't have to be. And I think that this is an incredible way to find trusted collaborators. Because if I meet with Vasilika for 60 minutes, I get to know Vasilika. I get to know how she works. She gets to know me. And that's the start of like this kind of trusted relationship. And that has happened, so many times with me. That has happened with Justin, especially, in working on this presentation. So I think that's a benefit that comes out of that. The second kind of exchange is vouchers. So this is my favorite piece. I love it. So vouchers is a kind of mutual credit. So for those who aren't familiar with like what mutual credit is, so mutual credit is basically it's a way of saying that we are all giving each other like a line of credit for our goods and services. So in mutual credit, we're the banks and the borrowers, which means that we can actually circumvent the banks. So, this has been used for a long time, right? And commitment pooling was created by Will Ruddock in grassroots economics. And here, I'll show another. Oh, it's in the wrong. This is just another way to. Oh, sorry, I pulled that into the wrong screen. Another way to kind of visualize it, a commitment pool. But it started by Will Ruddock in grassroots economics, and he's been really studying indigenous peoples and how they are, how they have been exchanging with each other in this way where, it's kind of like an example is one person in the village needs a house built. So everybody comes and helps build that house. And then, right, there's credit built up there. And then the next person needs help with harvesting their crop at that time. And so then everybody comes and helps that person. So there's credit that goes around, and we're just using more formal system to do that. So in this resource pool, right, we can it's money and services, right? So I put 2 vouchers for my services into the pool. Now I have two credits, and so and then Christine, don't worry about the numbers, yet, but like, Bart can put in 2 vouchers, and now that Bart's put in 2 vouchers, now he can take a voucher for my services. And this is like an IOU. It's a promise, a commitment that I made to fulfill these services. So now Bart, it's like a gift card or an IOU. Bart hands that back to me, and I give him that consulting hour. And this, can work with, tangible goods as well. So I'll show you how that works a little bit on the app, but we want to pause there because, just threw a good amount at you and kind of open that up for some spaciousness and discussion.
Maybe we can throw it to just a question from Paul real quick. Rob, Paul was asking if there's a mobile app or how to think about that. So I just wanted to give you a chance to respond to that. I was saying it's kind of responsive or mobile friendly, but not necessarily an app yet. But maybe you want to just touch on it.
Yeah, it is mobile. It's for your mobile app and for desktop. So it works for both. So we're building on a no code app builder called Glide Apps, right? So we are not, and I am not a developer. But at this point, we're making a choice to build on this no-code app builder, right, which works just as well on your phone as it does on the desktop. We're making the choice to do that because it's something that we can do right now. Like Todd and myself have built this thing, and we can expand on it and build it out quickly, and we can see what works and what doesn't and change it. Yeah, that's true. You do need a browser. Thank you, Hendrik.
It's just the language thing. I work with a lot of coders these days too, and it's an application and doesn't mean it's an app on your phone. It is, you open your browser, but it works like an app in the browser.
Yeah, thank you, Hendrik. Yeah, that's a good clarification and actually just helpful for me to take in. Yeah. So yeah, that's the answer to that question.
Sweet. We thought maybe we do just one more breakout room, and this time, Mike, you have someone in your room with you. Don't worry, we got you all sorted. But we want to kind of encourage a little bit more like conversation and exploration before we go dive deeper into vouchers and contributions. And so we want to give a little prompt, which is kind of like in the spirit of this kind of community economy and with this invitation to kind of bring your whole self into the Holistic Systems Cooperative, like what would you want to receive? Like what are some of your needs or provide, as opportunities from the community? So, I think Rob is kind of encouraging us to find this as a safe place to be able to name needs. And so we want to give you a chance to kind of explore what that could be and also encourage you to think, about things that aren't normally recognized or rewarded in the traditional economy that we find ourselves in. And so if you're cool, we're going to give you about 6 minutes again in a breakout room. So it's 2 people again, about 3 minutes apiece, and then we'll call you back back here afterwards. Is that okay for everybody? Feeling clear and good? Cool. I will send you all into your rooms. Enjoy. Welcome back, Hendrik.
Yo, am I in a room?
I think so.
Because I was late.
No, you
I
should.
didn't get
You're being, yeah, you were late.
No,
so you're being
Hendrik. Yeah, do you want to hang
That's
out?
the world of client stand-up. Or you run me through what I
Miss.
missed. It also works.
versus-
Yeah, I'd love to explore the synergies of that because it's a different domain, but it is very complementary. And yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I think very complimentary and good to see those differences, right? Which I think is something within HSC, right? Having those complementary, groups, right? Having these freelancers, working professionals, and entrepreneurs, right? It's just those are two groups that really need each other. But sometimes, right, it's like, so getting back to vouchers. Hi, everyone. Well, I'll let someone share in a moment. But getting back to vouchers, it's like, again, Justin and I in this place is a great example, right? So Justin is an amazing facilitator. This presentation would be nothing like it is now without Justin's help. But if I had to pay, Justin what his real value is, so like to help you actually facilitate and help, not just, run the actual project, but the presentation. I mean, very reasonably for 2 days, that's $750, $1,000, right? For somebody. So, but if I had to pay that, I couldn't, right? I don't have those, I don't have those funds available. So then, okay, I got to do it myself. But in this case, right, Justin is in the collective. Justin put in vouchers. I can claim one of those, vouchers for those services, or however many vouchers I need to claim. And then everything that I'm doing, right, becomes like synergized and much better. Right. And then Justin now can then have access to those resources as well. So when Justin finds himself in a particular place, he doesn't need a facilitator, but he might need my tech skills. And so then he can grab my vouchers, or maybe he needs, health and wellness treatment because, he feels crappy or whatever. Right. And so then he grabs Ann Tyler's vouchers. So yeah, that's kind of just coming from a little conversation we were having, but speaks right to vouchers. Yeah, Justin, did you want to see if there was a person who wanted to share?
Yeah, I'm almost aware of time. So I think maybe Rob, if you want to, so if anyone wants to kind of share any opportunities or needs that arise, it'd be cool to see those in the chat. And we actually gather a list of them and kind of see what came up for you and be able to start to kind of categorize and catalog that. So you say out loud, you don't really know, but if you put in the chat, we'll be able to have a nice little list and we'll be able to build off of it and work with that. But Rob, I maybe would encourage you to kind of hop into the vouchers and contributions, and then we can always come back around the other end and have a little bit more of a conversation dialogue based on what's emerging.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's good, because we definitely want to be able to have time to share at the end of what how to get involved. Okay, so yeah, so that's the idea here, right? And that with these vouchers, the thing I want to point out here is that that what I love most about them is that with the voucher pool, right, you have a catalyst group coming together, you have some kind of community, is that you can stock the resource pool immediately with real value without having to have that all based on cash. So you get a bunch of people together who are professionals, who are have really good have really valuable goods and services to offer, but maybe it's a group that doesn't have a lot of cash, right? So then we say, okay, we've got to go like look for funding and get money from other people. I'm not saying that doing that's a bad idea, but in this case, everybody just stocks this thing right away. People see money. I'm gonna, ask my family, donate, contribute money, and then there's already value right away. So how that looks on the app. Yeah, so basically, it's just this marketplace. Again, you can you sort and filter. And again, those will, even get more robust. But these are people's vouchers, right? So this is Bart's voucher. It shows, what's in it. It shows how many, are in the marketplace. Mutual credit can get a little, confusing on the back end, but like I think this voucher system that Will came up with, to me from the front end, it's really it's pretty simple. Each voucher is an IOU for a particular service, and so you just have a bunch of IOUs in your wallet. So if I'm like, yeah, I want this, okay, now I have to have credit, right? So there's this idea where there's credit limits, because we can't just have somebody jump in and then grab a bunch of vouchers and then never, fulfill on there. So it's a, way to gain trust as well. So I have 2 voucher credits, few. I want to claim this. Okay, claim now. Yes, definitely. Okay, and so now I own this voucher now. Now it's in my wallet. So once I own it, right, I can redeem it. And redeeming it just means I'm now going to give that gift card to Bart, and then Bart's going to fulfill the services or the goods. Maybe, an hour later I hear, something bad about Bart or something. I don't know. There's nothing bad about Bart. Or I decide, oh, I don't need matchmaking. I can list it back to the marketplace. I still own it, because once you claim it, you own it, but now somebody else, it's there for somebody else to grab. So, and all of that is tracked in your voucher wallet, right? So now this is in the marketplace. These are ones that I've already claimed. These are my vouchers, which are not in the marketplace. Every time I put in a voucher, that's a credit that I have in the pool. These are ones that I've redeemed, and so I'm waiting to, once you redeem a voucher, a person, then the person that I redeem this from, once they fulfill those services, then I'll just verify that. And, I verify it, great. Okay, public feedback, private, okay. So we're working on different ways, for this verification to work, but I verify that. And now it's gone, it's back in Holistic's wallet. So that's the idea. And you create, so if the last thing I'll show you here, right? So this is how, everything works on the back end, right? This is your control panel. So this is where you can edit, your contact information, where that lives. You can edit, manage, remove your skills and expertise. This will be more filled out as we go along. What makes a whole person? What do we want to know about each other? What helps? Here's my needs and offerings. I can add new ones here. I can edit mine. So here's my vouchers. This is kind of like my voucher wallet. So basically you're creating an offering. So to think about it, there's like the store of Rob, right? And the store of Rob has certain products: business alignment, email marketing, and then so this is like the product itself, and then the vouchers are like the cans on the shelf, right? So I have, basically in my back end inventory, I have 3 of these, cans on the shelf of Rob, and that's it. And so I'll leave it there and jump into the last piece, because I know we're kind of running short on time. So the last piece is the contributions.
Rob, can I ask you?
Yeah.
Can we answer 2 questions real quick? Is that cool?
Oh yeah, sure.
Cool. So Rin asked, and I'll just share it for you, Rin, and you can also expand upon it. But asked if a voucher was specific to a certain service, a length of time, or something else, or some kind of combination of both. Can you guys explain kind of how that voucher works? And yeah,
I can. What a great question. So we're getting into something that we can talk. If you want to stick around, Ren, I'd love to talk about this more in the Q&A. But the short answer is that there's something called relative value indexing, and that's really this like amazing like key with the vouchers, is that the community can decide what it thinks of the value of each of these vouchers, right? So we'll get into, there's a couple main pieces how we do that, right? There's the unit of account. So our unit of account now is like currency, so maybe US dollars is one, and then there's the valuation. And so right now it's market-based forces is the valuation, but here we're saying with these vouchers there's also a community-based valuation. So the community gets to decide maybe 3 people have tried my services and they're like, you know, I didn't get any help from it. So the community is going to say, well, Rob's voucher is actually 0.5. It's worth 0.5 of everybody else's who's 1, right? So we start at this place where everyone's vouchers, right now, you know, it's the simplest way, which is like everybody's is worth 1 to 1 to 1. But as we go along, we value index those and we say, oh, this was life-changing. Everybody loves it. We really value it in this community. So we're going to say trauma-informed energy medicine is actually is 2 to 1. So you need 2 of you know, this sort of standard baseline voucher in order to claim that. And that all just gets calculated on the back end. Did that answer your question? I'm sorry, I'm not seeing, I don't have the chat. Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
thanks. And I'd love to talk about that more. A skill verification process. Yeah, Hendrik, that's yeah, that is right. Justin just said that ties into that question. So there's also, you know, a way where reputation and feedback grow, and the community gets to there's a lot of different things that can weigh into evaluation, right? So one of them, right, is the skill of the person. So a person comes in and they're going to self-rate their skill. And then you know, over time the community is going to just, you know, decide, okay, like we feel like that's, you know, you've underrated or overrated. And I know this can get a little, you know, juicy, but that's where some of this community aspect is. But there's also like there is market forces, right? So I might put in a voucher and it just sits there and sits there and sits there in the pool. You know, then I might need to decide, okay, well, what's going on with my voucher? Or there's something like, you know, who's like Todd's voucher, right? I think these are super valuable. So like 4 of them might get snapped up right away. And so then the community is going to say, well, you know what, we probably need to like value index Todd's vouchers a little higher. And there's also what the community values, right? So the community might say, we don't value technology and design services, but we really value interior design guidance. So we're going to value index that higher. Does that answer some questions?
Okay, to respond to that right away. Or you want to do it like I don't want to interrupt the process you have, so
given time, I mean, we can stick around for as long as you want. I'd love to talk about this. I do want to make sure that, you know, we stick to the 90 minutes just in case, you know, folks want to go. You know, the commitment pooling is, it's really, it can get, you know, deep. So yeah, would you mind, Hendrik, if we'll finish up here and then hear from someone, and then I'll just kind of share how to participate, and then we can talk vouchers. So really the last piece here I want to name is there's also value indexing in this case. So basically what this is the contributions, right? So this is a way to value all different kinds of value, to value all different kinds of assets and resources and things that people bring in, you know, those 8 types of capital. So, you know, and it's a way to do that. Sorry, now my chat's open. I'm looking at that. Well, I can answer that, Paul, in a little bit, or maybe Justin can. So where was I? So, you know, the value, again, it's going to change with the community, right? So like something like HSC, you know, connecting people and referrals and all of that, right, is really valuable. So there's going to be a big piece there. We're writing content. Okay, so I wrote a blog, I wrote an email, I'm taking on a role or a task. So the community gets to decide what are the contributions and then how much they value each of those. Because the idea is that we want to have a log and reward people for all types of value that they're contributing, but we want to make it, you know, easy and simple. So that's the idea here, and you can, you know, you just enter a new one and create that. You can send them to each other, and the idea in the community, I know this might not make a lot of sense just in a little slide, but here we go. But basically this is the like kind of the full economic model. So the idea is that that contribution tokens, people earn tokens, and those tokens convert into voucher credits. So we've chosen to not have just a straight token economy where the token just becomes like the unit of exchange. We feel like that has a lot of ways of not working well and also recreating what we already have. So the vouchers are actually like the main area of currency. I'm gonna, I know that that's not enough time to just like look at that and take that all in now, but just wanted to kind of give a brief overview. So those are the main aspects. And yeah, right now, I think I can, yeah, Justin?
Do you want to, maybe it'd be cool just to kind of take us home, and then we can stay around and talk and have a chance people to kind of share some of their stories, ask their questions, and build that more community component, at the end. That makes it, that feel okay for you?
Yeah,
Just
yeah, I
having-
think that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, thanks
Community
everyone.
leadership, you guys. Just gotta talk it out because, but yeah, please, Rob. Good.
Yeah. So, all right. So yeah, let's take it home, which is okay. So if you are interested, what does participation look like? So let me just share my screen here. So really what we're saying is this is an invitation. So the Catalyst Group is an invitation. It's an offering. We've created this thing. So, I've presented to you, hopefully well enough what it is that we've created. And now the Catalyst Group is an invitation for people to come in and to say, hey, if whoever feels drawn to this, whoever is saying, hey, this is something that I feel like I wanted but doesn't exist, and so I want to be a part of, this is the invitation to do that. Because like I said, the thing doesn't fly if it's just me, right? And it does need to be catalyzed. So this is the invitation is to come in, and it's just what I would think is a special group of people. So to join in, to establish the resource pool, to essentially kind of catalyze this thing and be a contributor. We're not asking you to come in right away and start like doing operational roles. It's really just to come and start to play in this. So yeah, these are kind of just the tangible aspects of what a person would get. Also, yeah, I think we've covered that. Yeah, and also, the idea is that it's not only just to come in and start to play in this and receive kind of the benefits of it, and what we hope are the benefits, but it's also being an active contributor in this larger transformation. And so this is the invitation to join into that, to use the tools, right? I've talked about that. We've created this kind of community economy model. Models and theories are great, but we need people in them to see what works and what doesn't. And this model is based on a lot of research about what might work and what might not. It's not just willy-nilly. And yeah, to participate in these value exchanges, right? And starting to get these value exchanges going. So this is when we're saying what you get, really, this is like the program. So the Catalyst, we're calling this a Catalyst journey. It's a 3-month journey that somebody would be stepping into, right? So you're also, you're stepping into this community building aspect as well. And I'll share more about how you can specifically, do that, how you would get started. But these are, I call them the anticipated benefits, because I know this is the time we're supposed to say, this is what you get out of it. And essentially, this is what we have seen people get out of it, and this is what we think comes out of this. So when we feel like when we bring these three particular pieces together, so this vision and mission, the intention that we have, and we combine that with actual tools and mechanisms and frameworks to bring that into life, along with a group of people who want to be together on this journey and on this mission, that that these are the outcomes, that can come about, right? And you can see the list there: referrals, exposure, relationships. I mean, I can't guarantee you'll build new relationships, but everything that I've seen, even in our small group over the years, all of this has happened. It's certainly happened with me. Again, I think I said this before. The number one thing for me is finding trusted collaborators, but it might be different with other folks. So how to get involved. So this is the iterative process that came out of the meeting, yesterday, which was really like, it was not quite clear, like what the steps were. And I think that the idea there is because participation, doesn't look like just, one thing. It's not like you come in and you do A, B, and C, and then you're done. And it's we also don't want to say there's certain things that we want to say. We want people to be able to participate at the level that they're able to participate, within a certain a spectrum, but participate in a certain level that they're able to participate in, and participate in the different ways, right? So if you're like, oh, I'd rather, pay more of a monthly membership deposit and not do any operational roles, that's fine. If you're short on cash, you want to do operational roles, that's fine. Oh, I might love the vouchers, but never put into needs and offers. So it's an exploration. So basically what we're saying is, from this 3-month journey, let's start with a month. And we have this, what has turned into a really cool onboarding, 4-module onboarding program in the month of April. You can find, that on the website, most of the events we've put up there. So let's say you're interested. Okay, jump in. We'll give you the app, for the member portal. You can jump in there, attend the onboarding modules, and if we'll record them, because we know sometimes people aren't going to make all of that in person. Start to play in the member portal, start to exchange and discover, let's co-discover what this thing is. And then, at the first month, at the end of April, then let's say, okay, well, now we've been on this kind of journey together. We have a good sense of what it is. All right, do I want to continue or do I not? And so that, I think, makes a lot of sense. To me, it's a way, to not have this thing be some binary, like in or out, and you have to like decide now. And because it's, I don't know that makes a lot of sense. And so, practically participation, right? So we there's a list of things that we feel like, okay, well, these are general member requirements. Keep your member profile updated, right? Like, have some matches, put in at least one voucher, log your contributions, fulfill your voucher commitments, pay your monthly membership deposit, or if that's a financial hardship, engage in the operations roles and tasks. And then there's kind of like that grab bag of what people might do. So again, we want this within a spectrum, the level of participation, to be able to meet people where they're at. And that's it, right? And we're also saying, if you're not, somebody here might really love this, but they might not be ready to be a Catalyst member, or that's not for them, you can still help and contribute in these particular ways, framed with framed in the framework of like the 8 types of capital. Like, seeding money into the pool is great. Again, to be clear, like, this money does not go to Rob. This money goes into, there is an LCA legal wrapper that's already created through Circle Trust, through Roots Cooperative. So the money gets funneled through there, so it's all legal, and then comes into the HSC value pool. That's what I would like to share with you. I'd love to. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for showing up and for being here and being in this conversation. I feel like we're doing amazing work even just by like being in this group and talking about these things. So yeah, much gratitude for everyone here. Yeah, I think, we can wrap up the formal part, Justin, and if you want to do that, and then we can, jump into Q&A and talk more for whoever would like to stay.
Yeah, I thought that was a good ending, Rob. That felt that felt pretty complete. But I said anything else to just say like, yeah, what I hear Rob asking or inviting us into, which may be a good part for the segue, is that he's been building this out for the last 3 years. He's had different people kind of come in and come out and offer their services and their goods and their value and their time. And there's been so much networking connection. And now they have a platform that's able to really maybe capture some of that value in a more enduring way. And they're looking to kind of re-energize what it means to be in a team. And so this Catalyst group, as I understand, is kind of a few people who are willing to go through a process of onboarding, right? So having, Rob and them are putting together a series of guest speakers to help people understand like what it means to be in this economy, but also helping you have the tools and the skills necessary to be able to fill in your profile and name your needs and offerings and come into a greater understanding of what it means to be able to operate well in this kind of new economy. And so that's just really what he's looking for, is a group of people to trust around him, and who can help to kind of bring this to the world in a very light way, but also in a way that's dedicated. Yeah. But yeah, I think this next space is just kind of open to questions and answers and conversation. And you can talk between each other, or we can talk to Rob, or however works best. But I'm gonna put my facilitator hat a little bit on the ground and kind of just hang out for a little while too. But thank you all for coming through.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Wonderful to have you here. Yeah, I mean, I can jump into, I see that Hendrik, you put a message in the chat, and I know that you had a question before that we deferred to now. So maybe can speak to that.
Yeah, it's pretty much what I put in the chat, because I understand the dynamics, I understand the how, I like the platform design. My experience with this, it's the same with my experience with land-based communities. It's like, yes, we have this different way to work together, and I always defer to Tamara as one of the longest ongoing land-based experiments, and they're very clearly identified. It's great that you do a different how, but if you don't have a larger thing you work towards, it's not going to work, because you need to have this larger thing that you're in service of. Like in Tamara, it's a different way of relating, bringing technology and climate change together, and retain ancient wisdom. This is like the bigger thing. Like if you in that community, you're in service of these three things, and then they have different ways of operating on land as a land thing. But they realized you cannot just we do things differently of collaborating, and this is great, but if it's not in service of something else, it will fall apart. And that's the thing that I haven't heard yet. Like, I love this. And for me, this is a great product I would sell to communities that have that, like the directionality and are looking for a different way to bring their membership into engagement. But like, what is it? Why would I now join and bring my resources to HSC, like, and throw it on the market there? And so that's part one. And the part two is this voucher question then, because one community might, like, I've been in facilitation consulting groups for a long time. If someone offers to host a Zoom call that has very little value because all 80 of us are expert at this. But if someone comes in and says, I know, like, my biggest value in that community has been, I know how to build websites. So I've been always the one building the websites, and that's been like in value exchange. But if I go into my web developer community, the building website has, like, everybody knows how to build a website, but my facilitation skills are highly valued in that community. But if I now would value, like, if those now come together and try to create a pointing system towards what of my offers has what value, that's highly contextual, right? So that is the second part of the questions around the vouchers. How do you, like, but that anchors then, okay, the community that you're testing on now with the Catalyst group, what's its higher direction? Because then we can call people together where that becomes meaningful about who is bringing what into the center. Otherwise, we're just doing another community experiment that will fail. That's my biased opinion, having been in that space for a while, just doing how, it's the thing that's essence, but we cannot forget the direction that we're moving towards. So that's elaborated question towards what I wrote in the chat.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, maybe you know, I mean, I can speak to that a little bit, and then maybe that, you know, other people might want to speak to that. And I think that the reason why myself and other people might want to speak to it is because, yeah, I mean, I do, you know, I have some thoughts, right? But I don't necessarily like have like the answer, right? And so I think this is, you know, this is where the co-creation comes in, is that like, and I think where, you know, where this has a chance of working, right, is it if it is co-creating, co-developed. So then we take what Hendrik understands, what Hendrik learns, and say, oh, okay, now here's where like we might need this aspect, and that's not something, you know, that I thought of, or this is what pitfall, so let's address that, and I might not have seen that. So I just want to frame all of this within that framework, and that I think that is, you know, one of the ways that it works. So yeah, I mean, as far as the, you know, your first thought, I love that. To me, I think that there is to me, the larger mission and purpose is economic system transformation, right? So that's why I'm doing this. That's why I work. That's why I work very hard on all of this. It isn't just to like, you know, there's this practical idea of like, oh, okay, I want to make ends meet. I could probably find other ways to make ends meet, you know, but for me, I'm doing this because we need economic systems transformation and change into a new paradigm. And so that, like, that, you know, right, the purpose might be different for others, or it might evolve, but to me, that is the root. Yeah. And so, yeah.
So is that the essence of why I would now join the Catalyst group? Because everybody who's coming in is also part of moving that in that directionally in one form or the other?
I would think
I wouldn't
so.
call my Salesforce people or my CRM people per se into this group, or like that's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, Justin had his hand up, but yes, I think so, absolutely. I think that the people who would join this Catalyst group are people who are interested in that purpose, mission, and vision beyond just the, you know, just the exchange and just the, you know, professional skill development. Yeah. I think so. I mean, hopefully it's not at that point. You know, the vision is for it to grow to a point, right, where more and more people come in who are sort of like, you know, at a little bit farther away from that sort of touch point. You know, I might just be somebody, I'm a Salesforce person, but I might just have this sense that things are messed up, you know, and then I might be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna just jump into here and see, you know. But right now it's probably people who have a little more of a clear connection or touch point with that purpose. So yeah, Justin.
I also want to hear Mike a little bit too, but I want, as someone who's been in, you know, I've been working like in the Web3 movement for the last, let's say, 5 or 6 years, and a lot of regeneration as well. And so you have a lot of people that have a lot of great skills, and also a lot of organizations that have great bodies of work, but there's like a talent disconnect as well. There's this thing between like those that have skills, but they're trying to be a part of a new economic system, but they don't really know how their skills or talents translate. So they're kind of like not really be able to meet their needs, and they're giving themselves up in service. But it's kind of confusing, right? And there's also these organizations that have a big mission who are attracting these people, and they don't know how to coordinate them or help them identify how they translate what they did in, you know, in their traditional life into this new environment or into their DAOs. There's a coordination problem as well as like an economics problem, right? And I think that what I noticed HSC is not, but could be, right, which is part of this catalyzing is kind of creating a foundation for a bridge between like a traditional economy. So I have these skills, I have these, you know, Web 2 capabilities and skill sets, but I want to be in something slightly different. And there's a question of like, what is that thing that we want to do together? That's actually an open-ended question that can be answered, right? So it could be supporting DAOs, it could be supporting the regenerative movement, it could be going into, you know, working with land-based trust and projects. You know, that's not clear yet. I'm not trying to advocate for this being the answer, but I say like I think this is like a bridge. And it's kind of a technical bridge, but also kind of a social bridge between like people that have talents and skills and want to begin to operate differently, and the possibility of finding a right place for that work to happen that can support these communities that don't necessarily know how to coordinate or access this talent currently. And it's not, again, it's not what HSC is claiming to be, but I think that's like an emerging future possibility depending on who comes in and in what way, and how this, infrastructure and kind of call to action lands in others.
Yeah, and that's what I wrote in the question there. I see what you built as a product for these organizations and communities that have something they're working on, but are looking for a different way to engage the talent to collaborate with them. But that would put what you built not as something I step into. Like if I step into, that means I help improve the system, but the client is actually these communities or DAOs that could white label this over. And I don't know if you thought about this or if that's something you're taking a look at.
Yeah, well, that is Circle Trust. So that's what Circle Trust is. So yeah, so the initial so there's actually sort of three main kind of like users or audiences that are possible, right? So first, the initial vision came out of that. So with HSC as two things, right, that were interconnected. This cooperative, as has been presented here, and a collected services agency. The idea is that if you get a group of people that are professionals and grow and trust each other, that it is natural that what would come out of that is them joining together and presenting like products for clients, for external clients. I still think that that's really viable, but I tried to start that first, and it was like, oh, start an agency, so it's like, no, let's concentrate on part A first, and then let's see if part B comes. But that is another one. And also with this, the idea was always that, hey, if this thing works, it should be able to be transferable to other communities. And where that really came to life from an idea to an actuality is when HSC connected with Roots Cooperative and partnered together to build Circle Trust. So the same app that you're seeing now is currently being built, this base app that can be then white labeled for other communities. So just a name. HSC sounds like a bank. HSC is a bank. I know, Paul. HSC is, that's the only, we started to abbreviate, and I'm like, oh, well, that's the only other thing. But yeah, actually, I kind of like it because we're like another kind of bank, aren't we? We're a value bank, and HSC is the other kind of bank. Paul, please.
First, let me notice some magic. Okay, in the breakout room, I said I need a visa because I was blocked at the border last Wednesday. Couldn't get into the US, and the border guard lied on an affidavit. Okay, that's what's actually happening. So I said in the breakout room, I need a visa. And then I got an email from an immigration lawyer. I have an appointment with them on Saturday. So I just want to notice the magic that can happen, okay? And secondly, the synchronicity. I was in another group yesterday following Will Ruddock's work, and I expect to speak to Will when he gets back to Kenya. I've read his book, I haven't fully understood it. So what you're doing is very similar. I'm curious, is this similar to Sarafu?
Yeah.
And I mean, I was involved on the outside of Seeds and Haifa a while ago. They all grew and whoa, fucking exploded in ego. Okay, here we go. So I really want to honor what Hendrik's saying. If this group are just testing a product, it's beautiful. $15 a month is not much to test a product which we can then bring into our other communities and be part of. That's amazing. So ramblings rather than questions. But why wouldn't I just go to Will Ruddick and sign up to Sarafu for what we're doing here in Ireland?
Yeah, you should. And actually, I wanted to. I pulled up Serafu to show that because I think it also speaks to Hendrik's um, question. There's. I want to answer yours first, Paul. So why shouldn't you? I don't. I have no reason why you shouldn't. In fact, I'd encourage you to. And in fact, here's the holistic systems pool in Serafu Network. So we're working directly with Will and collaborating with Will. So really, as I was, creating this initial community economy model, right, I'm doing a lot of research because I want to see what works, what doesn't, what has been happening in community currencies, what, as best as I can. I came across, first mutual credit and then from mutual credit. So yeah, actually, Paul, this is a kind of a credit clearing system. Absolutely. And then I came across Will's work and commitment pooling, right? And I fell in love with it. And so I felt like that is, especially when you're talking about individuals, this is a point that Hendrik was making. Yeah, HSC is mostly for like individuals or sort of small entrepreneurs. So I think this commitment pooling and the vouchers is an incredible framework to bring in. So Paul, the reason that right now there's a barrier as far, I think, as far as entry in regards to Web3. I've done everything with this. I'm not a Web3 expert, and it's challenging for me, to use it. And so, and Will is not, it's not Will's goal to bring everybody onto Serafu Network. Actually, it's his goal to do the opposite. He wants people to, to take the protocol that he's created and build off of that. So, the idea here is like, part of the idea is like, let's get started. And so that's the idea of not trying to work through Serafu Network now, because we feel like the barrier to entry to, folks who are not like tech savvy is going to be high. And this, this tool that we're building on the no code app, that might not be the tool that we end up with. It isn't really, at the end of the day, it isn't about like Circle Trust being the tool, it's about like this larger point of what we're trying to do, and what tool we use to do it feels to me secondary to the larger, mission and purpose. So I'll stop on that question, but then I just want to answer Hendrik's question. So the reason I brought up Serafu, Hendrik, is because the idea with these commitment pools is that should be inter-exchange between the pools actually should be able to happen easier, because each pool, right? So any pool can bring their voucher into another pool, right? So this is from another pool, and Will comes in here, and now I can, as the administrator, I can now give a value rating, a value indexing to this voucher. So it makes the interchange, I think, work exactly as you spoke to it. So the HSC pool, right? If outside people come in and they say, "Hey, we're I'm dropping my voucher for consulting into the." Oh, thanks, Ann Tyler. Thanks so much. If I'm dropping my voucher into the HSC pool for an hour of consulting, there might be a lot of that in there, right? So the HSC pool might then put the value indexing, lower on that. But, say it's something that like a lawyer or something, or, health and wellness practitioner, something that there's not a lot of in HSC, another pool puts that voucher in and gets a higher indexing from the community, or it gets a higher indexing depending on the person. But the idea is for there to be robust exchange in between these communities, but be able to allow the communities to have some autonomy. And Right, and there's also this, you know, the idea of right there. So this works with vouchers. It's a little more simple with needs and offerings, but the idea, you know, with needs and offerings, and there's a lot of different, you know, endeavors that have those, right? So we want to be trying to be interoperable, not just with Circle Trust, but with other, you know, other endeavors, right? With Hilo, with GaiaNet, and so can all of HSC's needs and offerings be available to people on the GaiaNet app and vice versa? You know, hopefully, you know, I would say the answer is yes. So, all right, I just talked a lot. Oh, Ren, I want to address, yeah, Ren, is Ren still? Yeah, Ren's here. Yeah, Ren asked the question of, right, conversations about building reparations into this model. I'm just going to read this out loud. When I think of a collaboratively building a future economy, I think of the healing and repair that needs to happen in order for that it's building to acknowledge what we're building on and building off of. So, I mean, I love that. I think yes. I mean, I think that there needs to be a social justice aspect of this. I mean, that's my thought, in my opinion. And I think that hopefully is something that we can, if we grow, we can build into it. Yeah, so I would say yes.
Thank you.
I started when I started it, like initially, I started something of that initially, and then there was no, you know, I feel like there wants to be something like it's something that we can bring in anytime. I think as soon as but you know, if it was like just me and just whatever somebody else, you know, I started to figure out how do we bring that in, and it's like, well, let's just see if there's something that people want to join, and then we do that. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say thank you for responding. And I'm thinking about what Hendrik was saying about, you know, why people will join and also why they will stick around. And I think it's so important for, number one, for us to like each other and want to just be in each other's company enough to do the work. We don't have to love each other, like, and want to all be in a commune together, but we have to enjoy each other's company enough. And number two, for us to have a shared values or shared sense that we are wanting to, like, the world that we are creating together is common enough that we will stick by each other through conflict. And so when this comes to mind for me, because the future world that I want to create is one where that upturns the systems of power that I benefit from, and the ones that also in which I'm marginalized. You know, I have both marginalized and privileged identities, and I think it's very easy for people to get together and try to make something new and then forget that, like, actually we are replicating some systems of harm, even though what we're doing is great. And so that's why I asked this question, because that sticks out to me from the model that you've created, Rob. I think it's fantastic. I'm excited about it. I'm inspired, and it's something that I want to contribute to. And I see this being a sticking point for me. Like, how are we going to create a future economy that doesn't just ignore the fact that we are, at least in this country and the country that you and I are in, Rob, and I think many of us, that we are on land because a genocide occurred here and is continuing to occur, and because of chattel slavery. Like, this model for me needs to address that history that we are both standing on and continuing to feed just by being members of this society. So yeah, reparations, land tax, other pieces like that would need to be in this model for it to be something for me to want to contribute to in the long run.
Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you. I think that's all amazing. I think that that's something right to bring in now. I think is great timing. I would want all that to be here too. So just to name that, and that, right, that's part of the co-creation process, I would say, is we say, oh, okay, now that, like, if that's here and that's alive here, then that needs to be a part of what we're creating, and we need to be slowing down or pausing enough to implement that in a way that we think will work. And you know, I mean, one thing that comes to mind, right, is the you know, one of the cool things about the, you know, the model is that whatever, you know, comes in, the community decides how to distribute that. So that can just be, you know, that a part of that model. Like where is this going to? How much, you know, like what percent are we, you know, giving to reparations? Yeah, and the other thing I want to say, just touching on Hendrik, what we were talking about with the inter-exchange and the value exchange there, just to say that's built into the model to be able to do that. I think it works, but you know, I'm not sort of up here saying like it works, you know, I guarantee it. And this, so it's again, that's part of the exploration. Paul, you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. So the invitation is now to become a catalyst, but I want to honor what Ren is saying. We don't know each other from a bar of soap. So you know, checked in at the beginning saying, well, this is about trust. Well, I don't know if I trust any of you. I certainly don't trust Hendrik's Fathom note taker. So, but you want us to, you know, become a catalyst and jump in straight away. And as Justin remembered, I saw that with Seeds and Haifa as well. And I jumped onto their Discord group, and there isn't a better name on the planet for what goes on in a Discord group. It's full of discord. So I'm curious, what would be the process, Rob, then for this community getting to know each other a little bit better before we became catalysts? Because we could all become catalysts, as everybody is saying, to discover we're all doing massage. You know, there'll be no market for massage in 10 seconds. So how do we deal with that?
Yeah. Yeah, what a beautiful question. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Like trust is built over time. That's how trust works. And so I think that's the current idea now, as we say, you know, like when are you a catalyst? You know, we're using these terms to, you know, kind of speak to something, but are you a catalyst after the first month or not? I mean, maybe, you know, we want it you know, very, you know, for the framework, you know, kind of more structured. But I think that the basic, you know, idea that we have to answer your question, Paul, is to say, hey, you know, like join for a month, and let's, you know, if you're interested, join for a month and participate, you know, in as much as you can in, you know, within the what we're offering, and then let's see. What I have found is that you know, trust will grow as we work together. It just grows. And especially, you know, so far with this group and the people who are here, we're all so it's a little easier at this point. It's also committed, you know, that I can meet folks and know that they're, you know, committed. Yeah, pretty easily. You know, maybe that's not the model. Maybe the model is to, you know, maybe it's different for you, Paul. Maybe it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to kind of, you know, come to the community meetings and get to know folks and start to see what they're doing, and then I'll jump in. But I think the idea is that at a certain point, you know, with the tool and with the framework that it is, it does make sense to have somebody be like a member an active member, or like, you know, a community supporter, because we have this member portal and there's certain things that you can do and certain obligations. And yeah, I don't know if did that at least speak to what you're.
If you were asking me to come back before Hendrik, is that okay, Hendrik? What you're doing is huge. There wasn't enough U's in my keyboard. So I certainly will be a catalyst, and I think um, part of the engagement is the terror of what you're doing. Okay, because if you are creating a clearing bank for intangibles, that's what it feels like to me. Um, that's huge, and I've been dreaming about it for 5,000 years probably. But we used to do this. We did this all the time. So you want to put it on a particular platform, and that's fine and beautiful. So I certainly will be part of it. Um, yeah, I'm caught on this issue of um, come and be a catalyst and let's build trust. That's what's wrong with most technology platforms. There we go. There's one of my technology platforms that I just went down to, and I don't trust anybody on it, okay? Um, I hear that there's a potential to uh, create trust, and when I come in as a catalyst, it'll be the first thing I'll be asking for is dialogue processes, really dropping in, more than 2 minutes in a breakout room, you know.
Mm.
We really want to get to know each other. The commitment we're making is not a voucher, and it's not a commitment pooling, and it's not a roller, and it's not a Sarafu. It's the time and the space to listen.
Mm.
And I was reminded yesterday, listen and silent has the same letters, and it operates at quantum frequency. So that was all. I'll be in. I'm here. Thank you for all of the work that you've done. It's amazing. Clearing bank for intangibles. That's interesting.
Yeah, Hendrik. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah. How to follow up of that on on that. Beautiful, and I fully agree. It's a dance to especially do this digitally. In Spiral, greater than, I don't know if those terms say anything to people here in the room very long in the consulting space. And the conclusion there with greater than, and at least the conversation I had with them, is if you really want to go far in these spaces, you need to meet in place. Like any digital team that works remotely, you need to, like, first thing is always like a physical meeting being scheduled. And I'm a big advocate on this. Like, there needs to be these in place gatherings. Yeah, but that's more following up on what was being said. Like the trust building piece is an interesting one, and how much trust you build in which direction, and how do we build. How can we collab? Like Graham Boyd likes to say, like, we need to create a system where I hate you, but I still can work with you. Because we will not all like each other, but that's part. Like, if we don't have disagreement, there will not be growth, because through the tensions, new things can show up, right? But my question originally, why I raised my hand, was on HSC, is there the function to create a new pool? I missed that part. So maybe you showed it and I was in my stand-up for the client. Can I generate a new pool that has its own membership and it exists next to the HSC pool? Is that a functionality?
It is part of the model. It's not a functionality now. That is, that would have to be something that's in the feature pipeline. But the idea, yeah, is there's to be multiple pools, and how that it's certainly, how that works in Seraphim. But I think how that works, we'll have to see. I mean, part of the idea is, like, because we say, okay, well, let's say holistic systems it really takes off, and then there's, whatever, 1,000 members. Part of this idea is that we do want to establish this trust and community. So there's a way where I see, if that happens, I see the possibility. Again, it might not be like this, but envision it as like a kind of mitosis, right? So it's like, oh, we got holistic systems, and now we're really going, and we have our 144 people, or the Dunbar number or whatever, and then more people come, and there might just toast us off. Oh, okay, and now we've got this, holistic systems 1 and holistic systems 2 and holistic systems 3, and then to maintain that whatever model works. And then holistic systems 3 will say we don't want to be called that anymore. But yeah. So and there might be different pools within HSC. So Todd speaks to that. I think that that's something that's not fully worked out yet.
Let's connect on this, because maybe we just do an API and then we're done with that problem.
Yeah. Well, I think that's exactly. And I think what I'm hearing now is this sort of like this catalyzing, or what I think needs to happen, right? Because people, what I'm hearing is folks are coming in saying, oh, well, what about this? And we need this. And we, like coming in with ideas of what's, what it actually this thing needs to fly, which is amazing. And I think that the catalyzing is that, this like it has to be, those things have to be like co-created by us, because there's a reality that I have limited resources, we have this core team, and right now it's pretty small. So oh, okay, gotcha. Thanks, Justin. Thank you, Justin. Facilitator extraordinaire.
Bye, guys. I'll see you around.
All right, thanks. We'll debrief later. So it's so it's something where we need the people who are here. I think at this point, in order to catalyze this, if we're saying, okay, well, we need we need dialogue, and we want to implement a way to honor to honor the historical atrocities that have occurred, to honor the historical and current oppression that's happening, and to bring in ways to make to bring that social justice aspect into the community. Then we all sort of step into roles, I think, in that case. And I think that's, there's tremendous power in that. And so, yeah, I hope that makes sense. So like the level that we bring in new aspects, right, is the level that then people have to participate. Because I can only do so much myself. At least at this point, where there's not like funding coming in. But hey, let's get some funding. I mean, seriously, let's do that, and then we can funnel money into the pool to ourselves. Jocko.
Yeah. So we have talked a bit before. So there is a lot of connection I feel with what you are doing, and so the thing that comes into my mind is the things that I'm always thinking about, and so I want to say them again. But to me, one of the key things that would answer a part of what everybody were saying, to me, it would be a concept map, a semantic map. So it connects with what you are doing, in the sense that we have ideas that we keep saying, or that we have in our special mind. I mean, we cannot always bridge everything together in just one meeting, is what I mean. So if we can do that in our own time, whenever we want, we go into a map, a clear map, where concepts that are similar are closer to each other, so that we can find them fast. And we put what we want to say, and then little by little, we collaborate on what we want to see. And the idea would be to have a meta map, like not just with your platform, but with others' platform, so that we can navigate between platforms easily, because you see where is what, and what you can do about it, and what people want to do about it. And the thing is that your platform is already a good step toward that. But I think it's really the next step. Like, we need to see where the option can grow, and what would be the most efficient thing to do next, to not just be another community, but to build a system that actually grows systemically. This is the change. The change is our way to create a new culture. And to create a new culture, we need this, I think, which is put ideas, put concept, and then we can talk about it. We could even say, okay, I think this is hurtful, and say why. I think this is good, and say why, and not just contribute with money, etc., but with word, with saying, this is the concept I see in what you are doing, like things like that. I want to reward this person in such way. I don't have the reward, but I would like this person to have this reward, and this becomes really, really nuanced. Then we don't talk about money, we talk about expressing what we see in the future. And I think this is the next step of what could be actually an alternative to economy. And this is what we are trying to build together. So this is really what yeah, this is it. Like I have a lot more to say, but basically this is the essence of it.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Right. And that's that larger movement that's happening, right? And Hendrik is speaking to it. And Jaco, I know you see that because we were at the gathering of tribes together, and that's and there's another, yeah. We met in person.
We didn't run into each other. I was up the hill most of the time.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah,
And
it
post.
was kind of a whirlwind. Yeah, thank you. And right, there's a lot of conversations happening there because and every time, yeah, I like there's a group called Mutual Aid Network, and they're doing something very similar. And so again, in this kind of collaborative paradigm, so jump right in and say, hey, we're doing this and you're doing that, and let's work together and let's talk about it. And oh yeah, we're building this tool and you're building this tool and kind of do very similar things. How do we collaborate?
And we can connect with empirical data we have. Like I have so much data, like real things like websites, other communities that could be put in the map so that we can find it like really fast and see, okay, in the past, this failed because of that. And then we organize together. We need a brain made of all of us. And the other thing also is that, for example, me, I know that I can struggle to find people that will actually follow through. Like, so they say, okay, it's a good idea, etc. And I'm like, okay, I have certain specific ideas or specific things I can do to like pay someone to do this idea. I can make it connect with other people, other ideas, but I have so much power. Like there is a lot of things I cannot do. I have not a huge social capacity or things like that, or I'm used to struggle because a lot of my ideas are abstract or conceptual or I don't know something. Like it's always hard. So if there could be ways, because I cannot commit because I know that often it will fail. Like in my life, it's always failing to some extent due to the complexity of it. Like and due to distances and my ways of thinking and this leads me to be very careful about what I'm doing, when and how. And so this is where I think I might not be the only one, but we would be typically people that do not come because we know it fails. So if we have a way to bridge that, it will be great. And I will need to go soon, but thank you. And I love what you're doing,
Yeah, thank you. And you're doing it too, right? I mean, you're creating this. Yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, this thing it might fail. To me, that's not beside the point. To me, we just keep doing this until we, figure it out.
Just following up on that, like we're on it. Like Guy and Ed is talking. Like I'm from Chrome 1. I don't want to bring explaining that we're doing something similar more on like how do we grow ventures in a collective. It's more the essence and like different financial model. but we're talking to Circle Trust, GaiaNet, and Futura and other networks. We're like looking at building a coalition right now where we map who is working on what to understand that because we all need, like what Rob built, we haven't built yet. But we need what they're doing. And then exactly, that's the whole process. We're in the middle of a coalition building, exploring to crowdfund into a coalition like this. And then, for example, GaiaNet and Futura, they're working on a HiveMight, which is pretty much an AI agent idea that lives in, like listens in and then reports back to that collective map so that you know what's going on as a community. Dave Snowden's work around cultural human ecosystem mapping and more about cultural patterns is in that as well. So that's my work and more about like the human dynamics. I love the technical part, but that's actually not make it or break it. It's how we come together as human beings. So just if anyone here, I don't know all of you guys' backgrounds, but if you're running something like Rob is doing with HSC and you're interested in joining a coalition like this, we just extended the time. Like we're actually pushing this to run it all over summer until May and forming this group right now of these different projects that are on it, but all have like hold a piece to do that mapping together on a technical side, but then also running a narrative process of mapping the cultural patterns within this larger movement. We tried to do this last year with Gathering of Tribes, but we didn't get the funding from the EU. By 1 point. 1 point. So yeah, just want to make that visible. I love what you're saying, and I think a lot of us seeing this and stuff is moving. I just wanted to name that. And again, thank you, Rob, for this party and this moving this piece forward. Cultural human. It's Dave Snowden's work around sense making and complexity mapping. It's called the Sense Maker. And since in Australia, the Australian government is using it to work with Indigenous people to identify experiments for cultural reparation, for example. And it's one of the only approaches that's actually recognized by Indigenous people of like, this is actually how we make sense together. This makes way more sense. So check out Dave Snowden. Brilliant
Yeah,
work.
beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I want to say one thing and then actually give an opportunity to maybe if Trent or Silas have anything to share. Yeah, I love that, and I think there is something with HSC is that hi Muhanji, there's something with HSC where I think it's the idea is that we are in this larger movement. You know, I think I said this before, but just to kind of reiterate it, there's something that wants to live in a very grounded, practical place while we are doing this very ambitious, transformative work. So, you know, we're in this ambitious, transformative work, and that's what we need to be doing, and that's what's really, you know, like Hendrik said, that's what's pulling us together. And then there's this, you know, this very practical kind of how am I paying the bills, you know, while I'm doing that? And how am I doing that, you know, how am I getting project collaborators? And how am I getting project collaborators? And maybe I don't have, you know, currency. And how am I, you know, supporting myself? And so, and I think that's where, if it works, I think that's where the magic lives, is that we can be doing those things at the same time. You know, we can be working on those things at the same time because we're saying, oh, okay, I can actually get help with like meeting my needs and paying the bills within this new framework of doing it. So yeah, so Hendrik needs to go. Thank you, Hendrik. Yeah, thanks so much. Oh, bye, Hendrik. And yeah, Paul wanted to share something, and then if Trent or Silas had something to share, I wanted to just open up the floor for that. Paul, please.
You said if it works, that's where the magic is. We have to say the opposite. We call in the magic, and it's the magic that works. So there's something incoherent going on here, brother. And I don't know you from a bar of soap, and it's tantalizingly coherent, but there's something I can't wrap my heart around it yet, but I'll reach out to you. I want to thank you and honor you for doing everything that you've done, and everybody here. We're all one trying to do the right thing, yeah. While at the same time, we're all one doing what we're actually doing. So I just want to leave space for all of us here who are busy with reflecting back to Creator, how to evolve. But we are tantalizingly close. That's what it feels like to me. I heard a beautiful phrase this morning. It says, it's not that we are evolving. I can hear her breathe, and she's very close. So that's how close we are. Thank you. Blessings to all. I'll reach out to you.
All right. Blessings. Thank you, Paul.
Blessings all.
Thanks so much. Yeah, let's get coherent together. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, hi, I just want to welcome Muhanji. Hi, Muhanji. Yeah, let's Muhanji, maybe to usher you in, I just want to open up the space first for Trent or Silas, if you have anything to share, and then we'll like to hear from you, Muhanji. Right now, Trent, Silas.
I don't got a lot, but I'm just happy I was here today. Got to participate, and yeah, I'm looking forward to jumping in, making a profile, and seeing how we can create together. So I love it. I love Paul's perspective of the magic. I think there's really, I'm a believer, and it's about 50% magic. So yeah, I think that we have the right amount of trust to keep moving and get this thing off the ground. So yeah, happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. I see the magic happen all the time. I think that's the real thing we're creating. That wasn't in a sales pitch, but I think that's the truth. Silas, any reflections or anything popping in? Not required, but. You are muted.
Whoops. I said, let's see if anything useful comes out of my mouth. I think a lot of it, I'm just listening, and I tend to listen and take things in a lot before I have anything to add. But I just have really enjoyed everything everyone's been sharing, and I don't understand all of it. I don't come from the technical side. So some of it I'm like, that sounds like something that does something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't fully understand it. But I guess a few things I just was thinking about, like the paradox of like, oh, we want to go on this little journey together, so we want to trust each other, but you can't really trust each other until you go on that journey together. And I used to run these summer camps. I mean, that was the whole point. You create a trip, and you take these kids on a pretty long outdoor trip, and by the end there is trust and insight and something you really couldn't have built otherwise, but you can't really start there. So there's some level of trust, or faith, I guess is a loaded word, but some level of like, we're gonna do this experiment together. And then I also just thought of like, it's a small group now, which is easier and harder. And then as things get bigger and there's more people, it just gets also unruly in a whole other way. And like, how do you trust 1,000 people, for instance? I don't know. And I just was thinking about things I've learned from Quakerism and mutual aid. And I guess I was reading Dean Spade's book on mutual aid recently, and how to cycle, how to have committees and cycle roles, so which also helps build trust. And then there's that thing too where you're like, oh, I feel like I can maybe do this better. And then you get to do it and you're like, oh, wow, this is way more challenging than I thought. And the idea of shifting roles in committees, especially as the numbers grow, could be a useful way to build trust with a larger number of people. If that makes any sense. But those are they're not fully formulated, but those are a couple things that were bouncing around in my head.
Thank you, Silas. Yeah. First of all, I just want to, acknowledge Silas. Silas was one of the very first people to be involved in Holistic Systems Cooperative. Silas was there at its very birth, and that was when we were starting it as this cooperative and agency at the same time. And yeah, so it's sort of some funny stories from there. But yeah, and also just to say, yeah, that's a big piece as well that we didn't talk about today. But how are we organizing and coordinating? And so we really have been working with these decentralized and horizontal holonic organizational structures. And so there's things I can kind of show there, but that is all very exciting as well, how we can coordinate in the decentralized manner. I'd like to see if Muhanji would like to share anything with us. So, or just say hi, or just introduce yourself at the very least, if you'd like. Muhanji is great. Is one of the leaders of Fliptown DAO, and we've been in touch for a little while. And Fliptown DAO has been doing this kind of resource pooling and value exchange, non-monetary, for a while. It has been experimenting and doing that on the ground, and has been doing it in different ways and using spreadsheets and trying different tools. And the internet sometimes, I guess I'm sure he'll try and jump back in, but we lost Mohanji for a second. So, oh, here we go. Mohanji is on the app already. So, yeah, any other questions or thoughts? Or thank you all for staying so long. It's great, and we can also, I'm happy to talk about it. As long as anybody would like, answer questions. We could also sort of reiterate, how we want to be involved. But yeah, hey Mohanji, would you mind introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about what you're doing?
Sure. Thank you so much, Rob. My greetings to each and everyone out there. My love and peace to all of you. My name is Mohanji, and I'm glad, Rob, you've given me this opportunity to share here today. So I'm the founder and the community strategist at Fliptown. Fliptown is a pioneer decentralized autonomous organization, one of the very first pioneer decentralized autonomous organizations in Africa, starting in Uganda and built in the values of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a very ancient African traditional way of living, especially in the Bantu-speaking people of the Southern Sahara. So we started decentralized approach to this kind of governance in around 2016 because of the political chaos that was happening in our region at the moment. We just needed something that can get us together as neighbors in the area, as young people. I had actually just graduated from the university and I'd only worked for 2 years, but I'd actually retired from my work and settled back in my hometown and started this movement that was looking at the neighborhood. What skills we have in the neighborhood, what resources are we mapping in the community, and how can we share them so that we can become extremely helpful to each other, but also, most importantly, how can we steward the environment around us and make sure as everything goes bizarre, we still have the natural ability to recognize our responsibility as humanity to take care of of all other pieces of the entire puzzle in nature, the environment, the water, organizing the young people, and making sure information and technology that are being used in our community are used ethically with this vision of intergenerational equity. So we started out by mobilizing the community, especially through gatherings. At first, we did not have that much money that we could invest in calling people for workshops and all things like that. So what we did was actually capitalize on birthdays, because everyone has a birthday and people love celebrating birthdays. So we went out to meet them on their birthday parties. And that's when we started talking to them about coming together to start a collective kind of decentralized system in the locality that would help you whenever you need it, and you can also help the system whenever it needs you. So we have come a long way. It's now over 9 years building this kind of Ubuntu decentralized system. You can imagine very many decentralized autonomous organizations were coming up on the internet starting from around 2017, and then they really lacked structure. Most of them were being engineered on the front line of cryptography, and they were designed for the internet and the online world. So by 2016, we were already looking at how can we just bring back the extended family kind of organization in the African community, so that everyone can actually have a self-will to take care of one another and also take care of the environment. Yeah, so we decided to use our social media platforms because we did not have the resources to build something online that would totally reflect our ideas. Up to now, we have not yet actually. I link up with Rob several times about this whole idea of how can we really get this whole Ubuntu kind of explanation that I'm giving to have a digital twin, a representation of this entire system on the internet. So we used social media. We started by using WhatsApp groups, Facebook and Instagram, and we made sure that this social media can actually tell a story of our town. If you look at our social medias, for example, Flip Town on Instagram, you're going to look at young people growing up, and this social media platform tells the story, growing up with their talents getting amplified to the community, becoming now celebrities and influencers, now using the platform to talk about nature and environmental stewardship. So there is this interconnected thing that brings a holistic approach to the grassroots community, where we directly work with the actors. We started out at a one-on-one level, individuals that, like I told you, birthday parties, because every human being has a birthday. So a birthday is it's a welcome almost to everyone. No one is going to chase you away from their birthday party as long as you come with a small gift. And then once you have hooked them onto this system, we are going after their family, because everyone has a family where they come from here in Africa, and it's still in the neighborhood. So after your birthday party, we are coming home. And what are we going to do at home? When we come home, we are going to plant a tree. If you stay at a farm or if you have a compound, you're going to make sure we plant a tree. And this tree was going to keep us coming back all the time, because you're not going to chase us when we have a tree in your compound. We come around and say, today we want to visit you, but we also want to do a small ritual at our tree, water it and pray for it, and everyone would welcome us in. So by the time it was 2020, during the COVID lockdown, our first hub was closed because we could not now interact with crowds all the time. But we had already built a kind of network on the WhatsApp networks and everything. So almost all the community leaders now jumped onto this platform, because during the COVID period, they had to reach out with lots of message to the community. And then by the time we were leaving the lockdown, almost all the local leaders had joined this platform. And now it became a bridge between the community and their authorities, without any upper hand like the government. This is now purely the people speaking to their leaders. So leaders now looked at it as a very important place to place their updates about projects. The people also looked at it as a very useful platform where they can actually put in complaints in case something is not going well in the community, or talk about projects that they would need some kind of support from the local authorities. And at the same time, it was still serving as a way of amplifying the local talents, amplifying the small businesses of the youth. So I'm glad that you're achieving this milestone today, Rob. And I feel like the future definitely is calling for a totally different way of governance. And this is the right step towards that kind of governance. Everyone has lost trust in the systems. The systems are still surviving because they have built some kind of scarcity in terms of the resources needed for governance systems to actually make sense to the people. But this is a great leap forward. If we can have systems that actually grant you your independence and full free will, and you can operate without any kind of intermediaries, make your own decisions, and then we use technology for the ethical thing, like, for example, making sure the people we are dealing with are trustworthy. They have not used the system entirely wrongly somewhere, because everything is being taken note of by these systems. So I love the holistic system platform, the entire platform, especially because of its simplicity. Most of the people I deal with, especially who talk about nature and regeneration and eco restoration, the passion is too deep that they carry it everywhere. When you look at the websites, they have a lot of trees and forests and everything. But when you look at, for example, main media, you don't find a lot of these things. So that means the bigger majority of the people have totally detached from nature. They would rather have photos of Lamborghinis and all these fancy things scrolling on their phones than have all these trees. So when I look at the Holistic Systems Inc., it's a very simple color kind of match with very good photos that look at, they bring back the sense of togetherness in a way. They bring back this authentic happiness. So I commend you very much for that job. I'm still doing a lot of tests, and I can promise you I'm also going to be working side by side with you. Like, I always share these small ideas that I have on the ground here, because I understand it's a totally different situation right here in Uganda and where you are. But these systems that we are building for the entire global community, because the future is going to require all of us to be functioning together in oneness and interconnectedness, which is the root of our Ubuntu, which says, I am because you are. So if you can build a system like the Holistic Systems Cooperative, and the very same system can help the grassroots farmers in my community, this is the power of modern technology and this kind of I don't really love to call it evolution. I love saying it's appreciation. We are becoming bigger as we take note of what has gone wrong and the good things that we have done. So it's this kind of appreciation. So I'm very grateful to have had a chance working with you at Holistic Systems. And I also want to say lots of love to everyone else that has supported you, that has been part of this platform, because I don't know what it feels like for you. I don't know how big your team is. I don't know how much support you get in terms of what you need, but I'm sure it is a tough journey for someone who is pioneering such technologies. It is very tough, especially with those big competitors out there every day announcing new shifts to their technologies and having all these thousands and millions of people on their platforms. They are sure of the money coming in and everything. But for us who are working on small things from the heart, things that we believe in, and not looking at how much is coming in at the moment, I really want to say salute to you for having this visionary mind and sticking to that life with perseverance. Yeah, sure, your fruits are supposed to come soon. They're coming to you. And I'm very glad we had this party today. Yesterday, I tried joining the party, but my phone fell off my hands and it actually got a screen break. I just had to work on it today. I had to be part of this. Yeah, sure. So thank you so much. I love you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you.
I'll just share I'll share the Fliptown website in the chat and
Yeah,
my
yeah.
email. Sure.
Yeah, share your email in there. I put the Instagram in already.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And it's like, yeah, it's just been wonderful to connect. Yeah, connect with Muhanji, and also Biarawanga is another person who's connected in Uganda there. And that, that's the idea, right? Is that yeah, and Fliptown is a land-based project, and Holistic Systems is virtual, but I still think there are ways that we can help each other. Yeah, I still think there's ways that we can help each other, and ways that our community can help each other, right? And that's the aspect of Circle Trust and this platform being utilized by different communities and connected together, because it's not just like Fliptown, might need help with a website, and we might need help with something they can provide, but also like our communities, and what are you doing there? That's really going to help us grow, vice versa. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, Mohanji, yeah, I get on the app and put it, or you're on the app, but yeah, were you able, I saw you didn't put a need or offer on there. Did you have, oh, Trent needs to thanks, Trent. Yeah, well, let's be in touch, and we'll figure out where to go from here.
Always.
Sure.
See you later.
Thank you, Trent. Great having you here. So anyways, yeah, let me know if you have any issues with the app. And yeah, so
sure, I will.
yeah, thank you, Silas.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, Ren.
Thank
It's such a
you.
pleasure.
Thanks so much. Good to meet you.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
it's great to meet you as well. Thanks for what you're bringing. Yeah, look forward to more. Okay. Well, that's about it. Thanks for hanging in the whole time, Mike.
Yeah, my pleasure. What a absolutely beautiful call. People, like meeting the people all around the world, all the parts, and it's every time like everyone is so unique, and how they represent and show up to this field, and this is why I do this. Like it's the ability to meet and connect with everyone, and then to see how we may all be parts on like a jigsaw puzzle coming into more of a cohesive whole. To we're already doing it at the personal levels, maybe at our local community levels, but then our family, within our households. But how do we bring the pieces together to do this more and more collectively to achieve ultimately, a true embodied sense of systemic change?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, and thanks for your sharing earlier. And yeah, there was a lot of magic on this call today. Yesterday felt like a little more chaotic, which is fair. It's right, the first
You
time
said
for
there was
all.
like over 30 people on that call yesterday.
Yeah.
This was way smaller.
Yeah. This was able to bring in a little bit more of a kind of touch point energy. We also learned from yesterday's, and yeah, but it was great. I mean, there was great energy there, right? And lots of questions. Yeah, but I think things, the presentation felt more cohesive today as well. Again, not the first time ever doing it, and not like finishing it up like 2 minutes before the event. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Mike. So what do we think? Anything else? Anything else? Any checkouts? Yeah, Muhanji, anything?
Just shortly. We are working with ERA actually the Eco Restoration Alliance and Regeneration Canada, trying to bring we have our indigenous knowledge about regeneration and how we do our cover cropping, for example, in this region. And then most of the people, the indigenous people in Canada, are using a different kind of regenerative methods. They all use the same principles. Some differences are in the materials used and everything. So I've been thinking of a way of getting these kinds of community exchanges, especially because we have been talking about regeneration, better systems for sharing and value exchange. And then most of the time, we are talking about these things because we are able to use the technology. For example, we all have the smartphones and all these things. But now, my community, for example, the very direct people that I represent, like the farmers here, the big farmers who actually have more than 20 acres of coffee, who have real land and are doing agricultural production here, who are actually affected by these adverts on fertilizers and everything. They don't really take time on the smartphones. If they have the smartphones, most of them are just using TikTok for mindless entertainment, this kind of thing. So I'm looking at going down to them and getting specific days where we have a small session with them. We've had these sessions before, but not prepared for different things. Small sessions of 20 to 30, 40 people. Then we project the screen in front of them and have, for example, regenerative experts speak about what is happening in their region, what they know about cover cropping, what they know about water stewardship and all these things, and then having a direct interaction with the community. Because one thing I've started to notice on my side, especially after receiving a few visitors coming from the West, coming to visit here on the ground, I think people used to look at me and they would say, wow, he has very brilliant things to talk about farming. But this time, very many of them believed, because some of them had heard about regenerative practices from their grandparents or the elder generation, and they told them, no, my grandfather used to use this kind of system. And when I tried using the fertilizers or these kind of things, it did not last 5 years. So I went back to the previous system. They had some kind of proof to stand with me in these kinds of regenerative words, because here the rise is on in terms of synthetics and all these fertilizers being applied to the soil. So when they started seeing people like Ananda and Eliza visited us recently, and then the vibe has been very different. These people seem to now say, can you imagine even the people in America are talking about using cover crops instead of spraying? So they feel like these pesticides and all these technologies have been coming from the West. So having a backup kind of interaction or instruction from the West makes them trust the old ancient wisdom that they already have even more. Yeah, because very many of them have come to me saying, are you serious? The knowledge that we have is viable knowledge and we can speak about it to people? Then you have to approve these people and give them this assurance that this knowledge that you have is good. And yet they are the ones that are actually producing the good food. They taste it every day, but they are afraid to talk about this information, because everyone on the radio is promoting all these new types of GMOs that are giving off 5 carbs. They're promoting a lot of these fertilizers. So we are looking at a way of, still under the pipeline, a way of getting this direct interaction from you as an expert. For example, Rob, I can consider you an expert at community sharing and exchange of value, circular exchange of value here. So if we can, I don't know how holistic system can work with Fliptown in this. And then, like we had told you, we are looking for a platform where we can shift our activity to one that can actually represent the Ubuntu DAO very well. So maybe our people can also get to understand holistic systems very well. and we can help them adapt to it on their smartphones since they have someone they really want to see who's going to talk to them. They'll be like, oh my God, I use this platform to talk to the American people about farming here. So they would consider having the application, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, it's fascinating. What you're saying is fascinating, right? That the colonization of the
Yeah.
West, lives, so has become so intertwined, right? That
Exactly.
folks who have the real wisdom and the knowledge that people in the West like us are saying, oh my gosh, we need that. Yeah, that
Yeah.
they're not trusting it and need to like
Yeah.
relearn how to
Actually,
retrust.
in the decolonization, we need to still add the element of the West, because there is a way our people have totally branded you superior in a way, to an extent that even if he had a lot of knowledge that has been passed down in his lineage about a specific plant and he's a very good steward of that plant, someone can come from the West and tell them, no, that is not how it should be done. And they feel like, yeah, this might be true. So to decolonize them, we still have to just get answers of assurance telling them, hey, what you're doing is right. What you're doing is right some way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fascinating. It's fascinating. Yeah. It makes total sense, right? We are all having to be decolonized, right? I think
Sure.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that example because it speaks to that aspect, right? That it's the decolonization or the colonization, right? Affects the oppressed and the oppressors. And then so the decolonization, right, has to happen in both as well.
Yeah. Sure. Just an idea that I'm actually working on with ERA and all these people to see how we can have those active engagements. So I'll keep sharing with you since you're interested.
Yeah. So how should we proceed from here? Mohanji, what does it, I mean, you're in the platform. Basically what I'm, the pieces, you are in the platform. And so, we'd love for you to, help, co-create it as much as you would like to, share offers and needs and vouchers and all of that. And we,
Yeah.
like Mike and I and the other folks are working on circle trusts, which is, just to reiterate, I think right, which is like the kind of platform that other communities can use. So, which years would be a great use case for when that's kind of like ready to go, so we can stay in conversation about that. And then, yeah, if I mean, but there's BR Wanga, but if there's anybody else, in your community that would like to, join in on the holistic systems platform, and, is right, has, feels like they could bring, there's value they could bring to it and value that they could get from it, then of course, we're open to that.
Yeah, sure. I'm definitely always going to share about holistic systems with my community, and I'm sure they will love it. We shall have some coming to join in, and I know you have the time to really talk to them more about it and all these kind of things. But I'm very sure very many would love to be part of the platform, especially when it comes to exchanging value and knowing what they can bring.
You froze. Your video froze, Muhanji. I'm not sure if you can hear me. Mike, thanks for hanging in. Whoa, Mike just jumped off too. Oh, here you are.
Yeah, sure. It had frozen. So I think I'm going to first of all work out my HSC profile and make sure I have some value exchanged in there, and I can really have a way of describing how everything works. yeah, because I feel it's a good time for us to talk to our people here about holistic systems and see how they can join in. And then I'm also very excited to see what kind of value they will bring on board and how they'll be exchanging for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that, right,
Especially in terms of one idea, talking about what we've just discussed with the ERA, one idea would be having the local farmers on this platform. And then all these local farmers, most of them are elders that have some knowledge that they can actually share about agriculture, direct regenerative knowledge that is not in mainstream practice. So these people would easily be put on the platform as regenerative farmers who have regenerative knowledge that they can offer in exchange for maybe something else that they need. So I don't know how far we would go having these people get people to exchange the knowledge for something that they want. But these people would join the platform definitely. If we told them you have this expertise in regenerative agriculture and we are going to help you interpret the language and everything, you get into this platform, we shall help you set up and everything. In this platform, you can share your knowledge and also earn tokens for this and also receive something if you need something. You can, I'm imagining if a farmer shared regenerative knowledge in exchange for maybe someone who can support them with a solar pump, a solar water pump or something. That's how crazy I'm imagining. I think they would love that.
Yeah. I think it could be great. I mean, it's just an extension of what you've already been doing. It's just bringing in a technology platform that hopefully, people can use, right? So, and that's one way of exchange, right? These elders with this knowledge and right, I mean, having the platform being utilized, in a locality, in a town or a village, is very exciting, right? There's so much possibility there, or way different, different types of value and resources that in HSC we're just not going to be, exchanging, because it's virtual. So I think it'd be great, to get, a Circle Trust instance of the platform right into, to be utilizing that for Fliptown DAO and for the community, and then that's separate. That's, a separate instance from Holistic Systems, which is, has their particular,
customized for that.
Kind of, we have particular, goals of the people who are in it, but then of course be able to connect those. So, and with Holistic Systems, just to know that we're right. I mean, that is what we're looking for now, is for people who want to kind of join in this catalyst group. So this initial group that's going to, to come in and build the platform and start to participate and get things, built out. So, anybody who's interested in joining now, we would want them to be, interested in participating that way. So, and then we foresee, then the idea is to, once it's a little more robust and working well, then the idea is that people can jump in a little bit easier. And just, start to exchange right away and try things out. And there's, less that they would need to be sort of helping build initially.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So as far as like kind of the timeline, so that's not to say that that you shouldn't bring people in who are interested, but just to name, where we're at in the
progress.
I was gonna say evolution, but you where we're at in that, in the journey.
Yeah.
All right, I should probably go soon because we started at what 11, so I'm 11, 12, so I'm at like 3 hours.
All right, Rob, congratulations upon the launch, and yeah, I see holistic go the entire globe with users, and yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad you're persevering, and we should make sure it gets there, really.
Mm. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for
You're most
that and for
welcome, bro.
acknowledging me and the work, the work that I've done. And yeah, I want to acknowledge you as well, because and the same thing I know applies, right? There's so much energy and effort and time, that goes into, you're building what you're building. And I know you're doing that, like you said, from your heart, and
Yeah,
for a larger purpose.
sure.
Yeah, so I appreciate
Thank you
that.
so much, Rob. Maybe please, I don't know. I normally forget to get the recordings of these meetings. Is it possible to have? Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I'm gonna put them up on I'll put them up on our YouTube channel.
All right.
And so then I can I can send you the link. So I'll put them up on the YouTube channel. Definitely. So yeah, you should be able to see it then.
All right, Rob. Thank you.
I'll do that quickly. And so, yeah, thank you. So it sounds like, yeah, I appreciate you coming. Sounds like we have some next steps as far as, there's really two pieces here. There's the holistic systems and, what we're doing individually. And then there's the, larger platform and, looking at how that can be integrated. And so we're, it's a step-by-step process. You get it.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Well,
right,
then,
Rob.
yeah, let's
Okay.
be in touch. Be in touch anytime. And be in touch
All
on the
right, Rob.
platform and
Have a
about
good
all
one.
that. And yeah, excited to get going.
Sure. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Mohanji.
Thanks too.
Download the chat.